We're going to see how both Jesus and Muhammad responded to adultery. And we're going to look at Muhammad first. This is from Sunan Abu 44:42, and this is a Sahih narration, so it's authentic. It says, Badr said, a woman of the Gamid came to the Prophet and said, I have committed fornication. He said, go back. She returned, and on the next day she came to him again and said, perhaps you want to send me back as you did to Ms. bin Malik. I swear by Allah I am pregnant. He said to her, go back. She then returned and came to him the next day. He said to her, go back until you give birth to a child. She then returned. When she gave birth to the child, she brought the child to him and said, here it is. I have given birth to it. He said, go back and suckle him until you wean him. When she had weaned him, she brought him the boy to him with something in his hand which he was eating. The boy was then given to a certain man of the Muslims, and the Prophet commanded regarding her. So a pit was dug for her, and he gave orders about her, and she was stoned to death. Khalid was one of those who were throwing stones at her. He threw a stone at her. When a drop of blood fell on his cheeks, he abused her. The Prophet said to him, gently, Khalid, by him in whose hand my soul is, she has reported to such an extent that if one who wrongfully takes extra tax were to repent to like an extent, he would be forgiven. Then giving command regarding her, prayed over her, and she was buried. So here we can see that a woman, of course, admits that she has had relations with a man that are not her husband, and yet, so she, of course, is pregnant, and then the child is given to a Muslim man, and Muhammad commands that this woman die for her sin. So that there's no mercy here. There's just judgment, and this is just typical for the Muslim prophet. He is not real big upon showing grace and mercy. Now, with that being said, let's look and see how Jesus dealt with a similar situation. We can see in John chapter 8, verse 1 through 11, it says, but Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. At dawn, he went to the temple again, and all the people were coming to him. He sat down and began to teach them. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery, making her stand in the center. Teacher, they said to him, this woman was caught in the act of committing adultery. In the law of Moses commanded us to stone such women. So what do you say? They asked this to trap him in order that they might have evidence to accuse him. Jesus stooped down and started writing on the ground with his finger. When they persisted in questioning him, he stood up and said to them, the one without sin among you should be the first to throw a stone at her. Then he stooped down again and continued writing on the ground. When they heard this, they left one by one, starting with the older men. Only he was left with the woman in the center. When Jesus stood up, he said to her, woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? No one, Lord. She answered, neither do I condemn you. Said Jesus, go from now on. Do not sin anymore. So here we can see the religious leaders, they're trying to trip Jesus up and trying to condemn him. But the question is why? Because the Jewish law does indeed tell individuals whom are caught in the act of adultery to be stoned. But it says in Deuteronomy 22:22, and catch this, it's very important. It says if a man is discovered having sexual relations with another man's wife, both the man who had sex with the woman and the woman must die. You must purge the evil from Israel. Did you notice both parties have to be punished together? And yet that's not what we find in this text. We find it says, let's see in verse 3, it says, then the scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery, making her stand in the center. So they didn't bring the man. And so therefore this is not an actual legal proceeding, because the man is not held accountable for his crime either. So the point is they're trying to get Jesus caught up, but the question is why? That it's simple, because the Jews did not have the power to exact capital punishment during this time without Rome's Rome's okay. We know this because in John 8:31 it says Pilate told them, "You take him and judge him according to your law." It is not legal for us to put anyone to death, the Jews declared. So once again, the Jews do not have the power to exact capital punishment. But yet, they want to exact capital punishment on this woman. Jesus says the one without sin should be the one to cast the first stone. It says one by one the men left, starting with the oldest, and of course it goes down the list. But the point is that nobody is there to condemn her because they all realize that they have sin. And so Jesus says, are nobody there to condemn you? And he says, neither do I condemn you, go and sin no more. But the point is that Jesus is extending grace and mercy. So he upholds the Jewish command of stoning, but yet he also shows that he's not tricked up with their ploy, because if Jesus commanded that the woman be stoned and they carry it out, then Jesus is guilty of breaking Roman law. But yet, like I said, here we see Jesus extending grace and mercy to this lady, and it's one more stark contrast between the brutality of Muhammad and the grace and mercy found in Jesus.